It's that time of year again. Winter shed work. Feels quite comfortable and quite familiar to be standing within the aisles of my babies again. When you think of it, half my year is spent in the shed. So I'm just sweeping up the aisles so I can walk down the aisles. There's not too much drop on the floor, quite casual drop. Quite what I expect. And the reason why I'm sweeping the floors this morning is because I have to do an inventory count on my hives. I participate in a winter bee mortality insurance safety net program. And they need to know how many hives I got stuck into winter here. Just gotta count all my babies. So this insurance program is just like a safety net for wintering losses. In actual fact, this is my safety net. That's my self-insurance. I participate in this other winter loss safety net program just to make sure that I'm covered if something unforeseen happens and something out of my control, and all of a sudden I have my $350,000 worth of bees in this shed die. As farmers, we're always managing risk. As farmers, we take on a lot of risk. More risk than the average person would, I'd say. So it just depends on how comfortable you are in managing risk and holding that risk. I'm a believer, there's this program, it's a cost-shared safety net program, and I believe it's a very expensive program to run. It's a very expensive program to participate in, but any time that you can cost share and put risk on someone else's shoulders, you've got to take advantage of that, because there are times where it might come in to help you, and that's what it's here for. Even though I'm drifting into winter predictable and in really good shape, the thing is, we just don't know what those unknown circumstances are. So I have my nukes as self-insurance. That's peace of mind. That'll replace my losses if I have heavy losses. And if I have extra bees, then I sell them to boot, kind of like I did last spring. This involves the whole rejuvenation of my apiary also, so it's kind of a pretty good program to participate in. And then this winter bee mortality insurance program I just subscribed to help manage all those unforeseen, because you don't know. There's things happening in this industry that we quite don't have a handle on. There's diseases, there's viruses, there's gut infections, there's pesticide residues, be it from the farmer or beekeeper applied. There might be things coming down the pipe that we don't even know about. And I don't feel, standing here confidently and saying, yeah, these bees are going to make it through. Well, they probably will, because I've done my job and I know what's going on. But there's always that air of, what the hell just happened, And I got to make sure that factor, that unknown factor, is covered, because I can't afford to have $350,000 worth of bees also and perish because there's some virus come down the pipe that I wasn't watching and it killed my bees. It's very important that we are able to manage those unforeseens. And you do that with risk insurance. So there is some bees on the floor here. probably half a wheelbarrow by the time I get it done. Oh, there's some entrances that we're still in. See, look at the entrance here. See the moisture? They're not getting enough air circulation. Whoa. Where's my light? Stuck in the dark. There we are. There's a big cluster of bees in there, producing a lot of humidity, and without the proper amount of circulation to get that water vapor out of the hive and up and outside, it just kind of condenses on the sidewalls and runs down the out the entrance, which is not good. Here's another one. Entrance is still in. It's a big colony too. Look at the moisture on there. So it's very important that we maintain continual air circulation to be able to remove all this humidity. And that is going to be one of the problems with these hives that I'm feeding. Because I'm feeding them a liquid sugar, 67% solid, they have all this moisture they have to now remove from that feed source and expel into the air. And a lot of these hives are properly vented on the top, but I'm running the risk of influencing condensation issues within these colonies. So I just have to make sure when we stack them up that they're in a place with good airflow, which will allow air exchange from within that nest to get that humidity out. Typically, I don't run into a lot of humidity trouble within the shed through the winter. We get so bloody cold, and that cold, dry prairie air just zaps the moisture out of the shed. So I'm actually, half the time I'm looking at a shed that's too dry. And the bees will use that condensation within the nest, whether they're outside or inside here. They will use that small layer of condensation around the outside of the cluster continuously throughout the winter as their water source. So I just have to make sure it doesn't get too dry so that they don't have that water source and they dry out. I just have to make sure it doesn't get too wet where that condensation overforms and can't get out and creates mold issues. So there's a balance you got to maintain. What is that balance? I'll get in my comment section. I find 45% is pretty good in the shed. I find 45% when I look, I pop a little one of those little yellow corks and I look on the bottom side of it, you can see just a little bit of condensation on it. That's what I'm after. But when I start seeing hives like this, where I have condensation actually dripping onto the floor, that's not good. Especially because within the colony, you have all your honey stores, and if you haven't given your hives the opportunity to set up their honey stores properly where they have their food absolutely cured, it's going to leave open cells of food within the colony. That extra humidity within the nest that honey will absorb that humidity just because of its hygroscopic nature. Right in the mouth. Little buggers. Talking too much. And then that honey takes on that moisture, and then you're going to run into terrible fermentation problems of that winter feed. So that is why you want to feed your colonies in good time to allow them to prepare that food source for winter, and not feed them late, kind of like what I'm doing here, feeding them really late, because you got to make sure that food is properly stored away. But starvation also isn't good for bees. So, you know, I run a bit of an oversight there, and I'm just providing a little bit of insurance. And this is the last little bit of feed I'm going to put on the colonies, and that'll be the first used. So that's my whole idea behind feeding them in the shed here. But for the most part, make sure your hives are fed up in good time. Make sure they have that feed cured before winter, and just make sure you provide that opportunity to allow that water vapor to escape from the nest and just get out so the hives can maintain the proper amount of humidity within without causing mold issues or without, you know, dehydrating themselves. I'm going down the aisle and I'm seeing, well, we have our entrances open now, and I'm not seeing any type of condensation issues, so it's quite comfortable in the shed right now. So, any rate, that's a little bit of winter shed rambling. You might get a little bit more of that as we go through the winter. I'm going to do an inventory on my babies and then get on with other farm business.